Hey, everybody. Guess what? This podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. We're talking any book of your choice, and they have over 180,000 titles to choose from. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I love me some books, and I love to suggest books to my friends or anybody that'll listen to me. Even if you don't know me, you probably know that I'm an adult who has to run errands and sit in traffic from time to time. That's why audiobooks are amazing. I can cruise through even more books while handling the mundane autopilot tasks of life. I'm currently listening to The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, which I'm absolutely loving, so check that one out. Or go ahead and grab yourself another audiobook for free and that 30-day free trial by going to audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. Now, for this week's podcast, I sat down to chat with a friend of mine who moved back to town recently. His podcast, called Life Moves Pretty Fast, was the first podcast I was ever on. And that was way before I had a podcast of my own. If you want to give that a listen, that's linked up on the podcast page of my site at CourtneyDiamond.com. But for this one, we got into job talk, dating talk, Vegas, the random first date I went on in Vegas, plus some other stuff. I'm going to shut up. So with that, here's the conversation I had with my friend, BJ McEvilly.
Right.
I look at a lot of entry-level jobs where they ask for like 5 years of experience already.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm thinking like, okay, do I completely change my entire profession and just do something completely different? And everything I'm looking at, it's like, yeah, 3 years of experience with this. I'm like, I worked with animals for the last 15 years. Like, that's all I got, really.
Yeah.
Like, other than like bartending.
Right. And you want to continue working with animals, yeah?
I do. Yeah, I would love to. But people in this fucking industry are crazy, man. I've worked for, I don't know if it's just me or if it's like a normal thing, but I've found the crazies.
Yeah.
And I've worked for all of the crazies.
Yeah, that's
And it's all people who own their own business and their own company, who are in their 60s, who came up in the beginning when it was very old school training stuff, and they worked for nothing and, you know, were basically bitches for the first 20 years of their career. And then
So
now
I
they
think
have their
that's
own
how
company.
It should continue to
Right.
work.
And now that they have their own company, they're saying, oh, this is all mine. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's going to take this from me.
Yeah.
Any money they get, it's mine. Like, I'm keeping it.
Are they profitable companies? Like, do they seem to be making enough?
Well, yeah, when I worked for Joel, it was very profitable. I mean, he's got shows all over the
Sure.
country.
Yeah.
I mean, he would, which is funny because I was very close with him, and he would, you know, I lived with him for like 4 months, and we talked on the phone all the time and stuff. But last time I saw him, he's like, oh, buddy, I just built this new house in Columbus. You got to look. And he's just showing me pictures of stuff where he's like, oh, this is a $40,000 fish tank. I'm like, fuck you. Like, I worked for you, like, overtime, 6 days a week, came in on my days off for training.
And he's got a
$40,000 fish, just a fish tank.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
These things need some maintenance.
He had
too.
like, yeah. So he had like, he was explaining to me how he had like these beams for his ceiling, like imported from like an Amish country and was made by like Amish woodworkers. And I'm just like, oh, you're a dick.
He's like, I've got all this extra. Let me show it to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe it's, maybe the goal is to not work for anybody else anymore.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read, there's a book called Choose Yourself by
Choose Yourself.
James Altucher?
Mm-mm.
I think that's how you say his name. Who knows?
Right.
Anyway, the concept of it is basically saying that the employment scene has changed. The concept of college has changed.
Right.
Corporations, as nice as they treat you and try to keep morale up, and they do all these types of things, they're always going to act in their own self-interest no matter what.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Obviously, to stay alive, which is why things like layoffs happen, etc.
Yeah.
And how a lot of jobs are disappearing.
Yeah.
Simply with new technology that can automate things.
Yeah, I watched a video, I don't know, a couple months ago about how they're now like grocery stores, they don't even need people anymore. Like you just have like
Sure.
a card
You
or
can
something
have-
on your phone and you just walk in, you grab what you want, and then you go through and it automatically scans everything. Boom, you're done.
That's that new Amazon store. that they were
Maybe
talking
that's what
about,
it was.
right? It's
Yeah.
the Amazon store where you just log
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
you
yeah.
just walk in, and it just knows what you've purchased,
Right.
and you walk right out.
Mhm.
See, all of these jobs are
You
disappearing.
can't even be a freaking bag boy anymore. Like, and that's
No.
what sucks for kids because I got 8 nieces and nephews. Anywhere I think the oldest is 14 all the way down to 3 months. But my niece just started 9th grade, and so I was like, "Oh, are you looking at colleges and stuff?" And she's like, "Not really." She's like, "Whatever." I mean, she's really good. She's an athlete, super smart. Um, but my sister and brother-in-law were just like, "Yeah, like we don't even know if college is
Like,
something that
does it make
they
sense
need to do."
anymore?
Yeah,
Because when I was getting out of high school, the concept was if you go to college,
right.
you're set.
Yeah,
You're going to get a
you got
job.
everything.
You're ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
And then as time passed, you had to have, some sort of graduate degree or whatever. But now tons of people have those too. And now we have this crazy thing called the internet
Right.
where you can learn just anything almost. I mean, except for
Yeah.
things like you don't want to be a doctor. We'll take those things out
Yeah,
of the
I
conversation.
wouldn't. Yeah,
Obviously, you're going to need schooling for that.
I wouldn't get a surgery and it'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, I just saw this on
He's
YouTube
like, I watched
last
this on
night.
YouTube. Don't worry, I watched the whole series. There was
Yeah,
like
we're
9
good.
videos.
I got you.
There were like 9 videos. No, but I mean, like for basic things,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you can learn. I mean, I'm sure at some point, have you seen that app that they have? It's like a iTunes U that comes built into iPhones.
Mm-mm.
It's on every iPhone. It comes with it, and it's courses from like Yale and Harvard and all this stuff. It's courses that these real professors.
Oh, is that the one that Jenna was talking about? Oh, by the way.
Oh, that's different. That's different.
Is that a
but
different
yeah.
one? That dude, I had to text you like immediately, only like halfway through because I binged like 4 of your episodes.
Because she's hilarious.
Holy shit. If you guys are listening to this and you have not listened to Jenna's episode, all I listen to are comedy podcasts, really. Other than the ones in our circle, like Life's a Binge and yours and stuff like that. I don't remember the last time I laughed that hard.
Well, I was cracking up. I don't know if you can hear me in the background and most of it. I'm just pulling away from the microphone.
Just the way she tells a story.
I know, she's so
the way she told the date story. Oh my God. Like I had it. It was all in my head. Like I was picturing the garage and like him sitting in a corner playing the guitar. Like
so detailed.
Yeah, it was very detailed.
Yeah.
Well done, Jenna.
When she was in Florida, she called me and she's like, oh, she goes, I'm having the hardest time out here dating. These people out here are crazy, and I've got the best story to tell you about the worst date that I think I've ever been on. And I was like, well, we got to record it.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things
So
where
that's
you
the
wish.
first time I ever heard what actually had happened.
Yeah. If you have, that was the first time?
Well, just that she'd had a bad date.
Oh, but you didn't know the story until you actually recorded it.
No, I just knew she had a
that's
doozy of a
perfect.
story to tell.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her to save that. I wouldn't be able to hold that one back. You need to find like a fan of yours who's like an animator and have them animate the whole story like as she's telling it.
That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, she could take that story on the road and do stand up, and it's a 20-minute fucking story, and it's brilliant. It is brilliant.
That's so true. See, that's why almost the concept of like worst dates. I've had several.
Yeah.
But they always just make really cool stories. Usually.
True.
They're just conversation pieces.
I like that she just kept going with it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna really do this.
Because at a certain point, you're like, let's
The
just
wheels
see where
are
this
off.
goes.
Let's just go.
It's just strange.
Yeah,
and I'm
as long
here.
as you're not like, yeah.
Right.
So
as long as you're not in a dangerous situation, you're like, well, let's just.
So I flew to meet up with the Colombian drug cartel, and yeah, that's maybe a little bit excessive, but
I've met somebody for the first time in Vegas.
You went all the way to Vegas for a date?
Yeah, to meet him for the first time.
Wow.
We talked for like a month.
Okay. No Skype, no nothing?
Yeah, plenty of FaceTime.
Okay.
So I knew it was a person.
Right.
So I knew it was a person.
Super normal, nice guy.
Yeah. Well, hey. Well, he was one of...
You gotta be to go 6 hours.
He's one of Chris Brown's backup dancers.
Okay. Jesus. Really?
That's why.
Red flag number one.
Do you know what's weird? That's the first person to ever DM me on Instagram.
Really? Chris Brown's backup dancer?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. So we talked for like a month, and he's like, "You should come out to the show that we're doing in Vegas." And I was like, "All right." It's
Yeah, at least you got a free
years ago
You
now.
got a free concert out of it.
Yeah, I got
That's
to be in the
good.
VIP in the club for his performance.
Right. Where is that? Where is it at?
Ooh, what's the name of that place?
I don't like Vegas.
Neither do I.
Really?
I hate
let's
Vegas.
yeah. Let's talk about hatred for Vegas. I do not like it.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. Every time I go, I tell myself that it can't be worse than the last time, or like maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe
And then the world shows me a thing or
like
two.
this is the time. This is the time. Dre's? That sounds right.
Dre's?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Dre's nightclub in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
That's where it was. Anyway, the weird thing about that, so he was fine. There was nothing wrong with him.
Right.
He was, as normal as one can be for that type of profession.
That's a bit show-offy for a first date, though. It's like, hey, come watch me dance with Chris Brown.
Is it surprise? It's not surprising, though, that that's what he would do, is it?
Right.
It's not surprising. I think it's pretty typical. I think they like to show off what they do.
Right, but like I wouldn't be like, hey, first date, like, oh, let's go and you watch me play with cheetahs. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Just watch me, though.
Just watch me. Right. Just watch me. Watch me do this. Watch me be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a bit cocky.
Sure. And I think I have to look at what the profession is, and you have to think about what they do for a living, the kind of environment they're in, and the kind of people that they're with. I think that's pretty normal for them, oddly enough. They do that, and they use that to show off.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what it is. So I guess it's not surprising that that's how he would choose to meet somebody.
Yeah. I mean, and you and I have talked about it before. Like, the first date is kind of like an interview-ish, but that's a little over the top to like, because you're trying your best to show the best side of yourself to somebody, but you're also trying to be super interested in them.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
it only has to get more real from there.
Right.
Let's put ourselves in the fakest environment ever.
Right.
For the first meeting. And it was an adventure, I'm a very like responsible individual that that doesn't do crazy wild things. But for me, like I'll go on an adventure every now and again, but I do it in the most responsible way. So like I got my own hotel room separate to make sure that I had my own place to be.
Of course.
And all this kind of stuff. I had my friends. I was like, you got to text me every couple hours to make sure that I'm still good, right?
Right.
I would not drink. Here's the interesting part about that story and what I really came back with. So I got to be in the VIP, obviously, in the club where they were performing that night. It was the least real environment I have ever been in my life.
How so?
And it was really gross and strange. So you're in this VIP that's, first of all, behind the stage. You can't really see that well what's going on. You're having to watch most of everything on like a screen.
I've watched concerts from the stage before. It's not good.
Sometimes the setup's not great, right?
Yeah.
So I'm back there, and we are squeezed in with all kinds of women, and then a bunch of dudes, which I don't know who they were. They were just part of the ridiculous posse and entourage.
It's like a filthy
dudes that you have no idea who
Chris
those people
Brown
are.
cattle call of people.
Yeah. You don't know who those people are. He was sitting up there on the couch looking miserable the whole time. He didn't look excited. He had women to his left and right. There's women all over the place that are giggling and excited to be in there, but we are shoulder to shoulder crushed in this VIP, and they keep trying to bring more women in.
Right.
Just because they're trying to get more girls, and they're trying to give them all the free alcohol, and they give you drinks that are already prepared. No, thank you.
You don't do that. Yeah, you don't do that.
No, I didn't take part in any beverages that came from that.
Right.
I tell you, I travel with flasks. I travel with my own alcohol. Right. So
Yeah.
I brought my own from San Diego.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm crazy in that way. Crazy responsible.
That's very responsible. That's how you get a horrible...
right. But I'm in this environment with these people that are just not real. And these other women, I'm looking around, the women sitting next to him, they're miserable. They're not really having fun. They're like, oh my God, why am I here? People like rolling their eyes everywhere. And then there's just some like young girls that were brought in, tiny dresses that are just trying to get free alcohol from these.
It's everyone going
dudes.
for the story.
Yeah.
I went to Vegas. Oh my God, I was a VIP with Chris Brown. That's everyone going for the exact same story.
Yeah. I did not go to the after party.
No.
No, thank you. And he even said, we could go to that after party, but I don't think you want to be there. And I was like, I think you're right.
Right.
I don't want to be there.
Accurate.
We did not do that. Yeah. We just had dinner. And I got to go to that show and experience these people living in this very false world. But what the interesting thing is...
Well, it's good that he recognized that, though, from you.
Yeah, but like I said, we talked for a month.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a day and then I flew to Vegas or anything. So there was a lot of communication that went on, at least.
Yeah.
But I think the valuable thing about that, and what I like those kinds of experiences, is that you get to see celebrities, right, that you think have these like perfect lives.
Right.
And you're like, oh, it's so amazing. They have fun all the time. It's so ideal. And then sometimes you get around that and they don't even look like they're enjoying themselves.
They're even over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. I couldn't.
The
It's like you
perspective is
always have to
interesting.
be on. Like you always have to be in a dark, loud fucking club with music going crazy, and you have to always be performing. I
Yes.
couldn't do that. I just like to be like alone sometimes, where I'm just like I just don't want to deal with people. Like,
That's introversion, dude.
yeah,
I know that life well. I do it all
right.
the time.
You yes. To where it's like, do you want to do that? Like, I should do that. Like, that probably sounds like that's probably going to be very fun. But no.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting date, but I've had bad ones that have now just turned into good stories. I think
See,
it's
I
good to
don't
I
have
think
a
it's
lot of
good to
bad
tell.
dates.
No?
I have boring dates,
They've
but
all been
I mean, that's a boring story to where
pretty
it's
normal.
like, yeah, just like trying to talk with somebody and they're just, like not into it, just literally just did not talk. Like everything was like a one word answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
what are you supposed to do with that?
Leave, wrap it up,
See, I gotta go.
ask for the check and call it a day.
I guess so, man. I've been on a lot of dates where guys do all the talking and don't let you say a word in response.
That's rude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it's because if I'm looking at it from their perspective, I'm like, okay, so that maybe they're just trying to get out. Like, if I just tell her everything good about myself, right? Like, if I just say all the stuff about me that's good, maybe that'll work.
Maybe that she'll overlook maybe a two little bits of creepy because I told her all the good stuff first.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just trying to think, why would they do it?
Right.
Has this worked for them before? Is that why they continue to do it? Because it is paid off at some point?
Yeah, it's like I I might slash your tires, but remember, I did go visit an orphanage and help children.
Yeah.
I hate dating. It's stupid.
No, it's really hard to get out there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get out
Well,
there.
you're a fellow bumbler like me.
Well, been on it less and less. I did try. I'm always curious when I hear about another one because another app.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do feel that they draw different types of people.
Oh yeah. Well, even just locations, because I lived in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and just on Bumble between San Diego and LA, night and day. Just
Really?
the amount of people you meet.
What did you see the difference was?
Like down here, a lot. Everyone's a lot more kind of free spirited. Like I like the beach, hiking, running, blah blah blah,
They all say
yoga.
that, yeah.
Yeah, LA. It was either people who are just like, if you're an actor, fuck off, or it's like people who are just seriously. People are like, if you're an actor or a comedian or something, like, don't even bother because I don't want to deal with it. Like they're a little more blunt.
That makes sense. And I've thought about this too. Like, does it matter geographically where you are, what kind of success you have meeting people?
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're a certain type of person, would you technically be more likely to find a good partner in different cities depending on what kind of people those cities attract?
I think so. I mean, like you and I were both attractive people. Like, and San Diego is full of attractive people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you do have a choice. You know what I mean? Towards like if you go to Boise and jump on Bumble, it's like, oh wow, she's gorgeous. But yeah, it's like you're like a Boise 10. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
that's definitely
I'm a
true.
Boise 10, a San Diego 6.
And I've said too, like, even things like, like abs. Abs are a very attractive feature.
Right.
But I'm a little bit dulled to them because everywhere I go,
You just see them all
there's
over the place.
you go to the
Right.
beach and most of those guys have abs.
Yeah. So
They're
then
everywhere.
if you get it taken out of your life, then when you see it, it's like, oh wow, where did you come from?
Yeah. Or
So you're
even just
immediately like
maybe
sparked.
just the things that you prioritize in life, or what you want out of life is affected by the different cities.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of lived in different states. I did a little bit. Like I spent like 3 months in Dallas, Texas, 3 months in Orlando, Florida.
You've done more than me. I was in
I've-
Orange County for a little bit. I did 3 months in Kentucky.
Right, Kentucky.
But that's pretty much it. Otherwise,
it?
I've been in San Diego, living wise.
Oh, yeah. But I was always working, so like in Texas and Florida. So and it's very touristy in both places. So you don't really get the feel for the actual city.
We're technically a tourist city, but it doesn't feel very touristy
No,
a lot. Does it?
no, not at all. I don't think so.
Not like it did like when I went to New York, where I was like, wow, tourists everywhere,
Yeah.
including me.
Right. Yeah, but you're not like the one with like the big camera like around your neck, walking around staring at a Thomas Brothers guide. Like, well, how do we get to 56th and Broadway?
I know they were telling us that the way they tell who the tourists are the people who are walking around looking up because of all the buildings. They're like marveling at all of the giant buildings. So it's all
makes
the people that
sense.
are like looking up and like gazing around because New Yorkers aren't doing that.
No, it's
They've all got earbuds in.
head
nonstop.
down.
all got earbuds in.
Throw
this time.
shoulders if you need to get to where you got to go.
Yeah. Michelle was telling me, she was like, oh, I signed up for this new app. And I was like, oh, what is it?
What is it?
Hinge.
Oh, yeah.
I had never heard of it.
Really?
Yeah. So I said, all right.
Give it a go.
I'm curious.
Sure.
To see what the different angle is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the angle? And it seems like that one is about people who are actually looking for relationships, but it puts it in a casual form. So it's not as intense as something maybe like a Match or an eHarmony.
Yeah, Match, and I've never done eHarmony, but Match is too intense at times.
Match is
They make
more.
you fill out way too much stuff, and it's
yes.
Yeah, good. Yes. Even just setting up your profile, you're just kind of like, oh,
that's
Jesus.
How they
like,
weed.
I don't know.
That's how they weed people out. They're looking for the real serious people that like know exactly what they want. That's why I feel like eHarmony tends to get, and they get an older crowd. They get a lot of people who are, I think, divorced too. Probably more people with kids, I would think.
Yeah.
But those
I don't know, but that's, I mean, you just turned 30, right? Yeah, I'm 30.
Not just turned, but I'm 30.
You're 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 35. So, and anytime I do any online dating or anything, it's a crapshoot whether or not there's kids or divorce. It's just the way it is. It's just getting older. No matter where you go, it's like I went on a date with a girl. She had 3 kids. One was like 16. It was a great date. Mm-hmm. We had a great time. We went out a couple times. But when it came down to it, I'm just like, yeah, but that's like, how do I jump into like 3 kids? Like that's a lot.
You got to be the right person.
Plus,
for
like
that.
A kid who's as tall as me. Like,
ooh, yeah.
He's like 6 foot like soccer player in high school, and I'm just like, whoa.
It's like what I talked about with Jenna, right? She said that she was like,
there
was some dude that had a kid, and she was like, you got to tell people that right off the bat. Don't try to hide it. Like, get to know me first, and then it'll change it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I knew. I mean, she told me.
Some people, they're just not ready for that. / willing to get into something like that.
Are you ready for it? Would you date someone with kids?
I don't think it's the best of ideas. No.
No. Why is that?
No, because I am a person that I don't instinctually like love all kids. Do you know what I mean? Like some people like see kids and like, oh my God, a baby. And they get really excited.
Yeah.
I'm like that with dogs, right? So I'm like, oh my God, your puppy. So for kids, I mean, I don't really know what to do with them. I have to get to know a kid individually. I like polite children. I can like them on a 1-by-1 basis.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And then I'm sure, if I have kids, I mean, I will love my own kids. My mom told me that too. She's like, I'm not a woman that loves all children all the time, but like I loved you.
Well, yeah, but like if that's your thing, like as a mother or a father, is like you raise your kids to be the kid that you want them to be. So if I raise a kid to be like a little shit, then I'm sure I'll get fed up with that very quick and switch my parenting techniques.
I feel like everybody comes out with a certain kind of foundational personality. And then it's the nurture part of it that kind of guides them.
Yes and no. And like I said, I have 8 nieces and nephews, and there is not one of them. And I'm not saying this just because I'm biased because they're my blood. Like there's not one of them that is not well behaved.
That's great.
One of my nephews can be a shit at times. And I'm fully fine with admitting that. I got into a huge thing when I went on a trip with him. I got really pissed off at him because his mom and dad weren't there. So I had to like play parent. But yeah, all of them are super well behaved. And I think that has everything to do with my brothers and sisters and how they raised them.
Sure, that's all a teaching of manners and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, I have a rule if I date anyone with a kid, and I tell them flat out first date, and I told the girl that had 3 kids, we date, right? We have our courting process, and then once we decide that we're like together, it's going to be at least 4 to 6 months before I meet your kids.
It's probably healthy.
Yeah. It's hard to swallow for some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them kind of look at me like I'm weird, but I'm just like, I don't want it. My brother used to be in relationships with single moms and would bring the kids around. And then once they broke up, then it's like the kids would meet my nieces and nephews and they became friends. And now it's kind of like all really weird and awkward.
You make it more of a thing.
Yeah.
You make it more of a thing.
Yeah. We're not a family yet.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't go for guys with kids usually because I don't know anything about that.
Right.
I don't know anything about that. But so this Hinge app seems to be, people that seem to want relationships. They're a little bit more. Have you been on it?
Yeah, I have.
So it seems like they want to have a little bit more conversation. They don't initially go right to like, let's meet up. I feel like Bumble does that.
Mhm.
Either on Bumble right now, they just bypass it and go right to my Instagram because my Instagram's on there,
Ah.
and they message me through there. So they skip the whole process.
Oh, really?
Or within the first 2 to 3 messages, they're already asking you out. Whereas I feel like
That's a bit much.
I feel
Yeah.
but it feels like it's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Feels like with the Hinge app that those guys are kind of trying to have a little bit more conversation.
Now, is that good or bad? Because there's some people who can take the point of view of just like, yes, like if we obviously matched for a reason, let's just skip the BS and let's just meet and have a drink.
Guess that's the
You're trying to
difficult
find the
part,
middle.
isn't
You're
it?
trying to find the middle
It's a
ground
weird
between
middle
Bumble
ground.
and Hinge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird middle ground.
Well, it sucks for a guy because I recently matched up with a girl and we were talking for a while. We talked for maybe like, I don't know, 6 days. And it wasn't just like, hi, how's your day?
Mhm.
Great. Okay, talk to you tomorrow. Hi, how's your day?
What's
Like we
crazy
had
is like
full-blown
six-
conversation.
Like 6 days is a really long time.
It is a long time. It is a really long time.
It
But
really
it's like
is.
I was down here. She lived up in Long Beach, so it's like, what am I gonna say? Like, let's meet for a drink. When? Next week. All right, cool. We're gonna keep talking regardless.
Mhm.
But I finally just like dropped it and I was like, hey, I was like, let's exchange numbers and maybe go out sometime. And then boom, I woke up the next morning and unmatched.
Hmm.
But I was like, that's weird.
She was like, I just want a pen pal.
I guess so. Like
got
6
scared.
full days of talking. Like if you were bored with somebody, you would probably just do that. But then once
Yeah.
I asked her for a number and said like, hey, let's meet.
God, that's the strange thing though. And you know what? I can't even say I don't do that because I do that sometimes.
Do you?
Yes, not after 6 days of talking.
Right.
Because I don't.
Well,
that
maybe 6
never-
was a bit
that,
long.
Like, never
I'll say
happens to
4.
me. That like never happens to me. We don't usually get to like 6 days of talking. Oh, it's like it's something in the attention span, or it's just a way to weed out like maybe an interest level thing. Some people are not quite ready, but they're just trying to meet new people.
Right. But yeah, you would think like, okay, well, even if she was like, all right, we're talking too long, just fucking ask me out already and let's just go out and meet. Either do it or don't. And then I do, and then it's just like, oh wait, nope.
Yeah, I know. It's a freaking anomaly, dude. That's all I can say.
The ghosting. The ghosting.
That's all I can say.
All the ghosts.
It happens on both ends though.
Oh, of course. I do. I'm very guilty of it.
Yeah.
To where like I'll match with somebody, we'll talk a little bit, and then I just kind of like, no.
Yeah. And then I go back and forth. I'm always yo-yoing. I'm like, shit. It's like I feel a little bit bad when I get, and it's because I'm genuinely get distracted in my own life. And then I'm like, I'm not going to have time to meet up, Or it's like, especially with things like Bumble, anything with a quick swipe type of a situation, you gather a lot of people all at once.
Right.
And then say all of those people ask you out.
How do you
schedule
How do you set up 12 dates in the next?
It gets overwhelming.
3 days.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it gets overwhelming, and then you'll push it off, and then eventually, maybe, unless somebody really sparked you,
Mhm.
You might make time for those people. I don't know. I think that's part of it too. You create too much distraction with these types of.
Have you ever mixed up conversations and been like, hey, how was work at your fucking doctor's office? And he's like, I'm a mechanic. And you're like, shit.
No, because I'm at least kind enough to scroll back through the conversation to make sure I'm getting my information correct.
I am so generous that I don't make myself look like a douche.
No, well, I mean, I'm not going to just.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah, like I'll go back and look and make sure that I'm, what I'm thinking, who I'm thinking I'm talking to is correct.
Right.
But yeah, all of that, it sounds awful. All of that sounds awful.
Doesn't it?
It's this overload of people.
Single. You stupid bastard.
Well, there's other things like where I can tell other people are talking to so many people, or they're not really listening to me either. So like I work weekends, right? There's this one particular guy. He every time he tried to ask me to do something, he asked me to do something on a weekend. And I was like, I told you I work late and I work both of those days.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be a weekday. So it was like really clear. But every time he asked me out, a couple days apart, he asked me for a weekend day. And I was like, you're not
So he was just trying to do a lineup. He's like, you don't get
you're
this.
not listening to what I'm saying to you.
Listen to me, Daniel. I work weekends.
Mm-hmm. So if these apps are not very effective, it's like, how do you meet people these days?
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, through friends of friends, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. The apps are now telling us when we have mutual friends too.
Oh, are they?
Have you seen that? It'll be like,
No, I
these 3
haven't.
people also know this person.
Oh, then yeah, then you
And it's
match.
like,
It's like,
it's
well, how
supposed
do
to
you
be
know
like,
Carrie?
supposed to
Oh
like
my
vouch
god!
for them.
Right.
Like this, they're not crazy because look, 3 of your friends know them. I have one friend that keeps popping up as he's a friend with everybody. And I'm like, dang, how am I matched with like 5 of your guy friends?
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah. But it's
He knows
weird.
too many people.
Yeah, I don't know how you actually meet people.
That's the thing.
That's the weird thing. Well, I mean, you and I went on a date. Well, it wasn't really a date. It was like a
We
drink.
drank a beer.
But like, yeah, but like in a situation like we're talking, like you and I, that was the way that we met, like through friends, should have been like a normal, like natural kind of way you would meet somebody.
Correct. I guess that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Quote unquote, supposed to do it. Well, the strange thing too, and this is what when I talk to a lot of my other single friends, is like a lot of times you go on a date and it seems like it went great. And like on both ends, everything seems like it was perfectly cool.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, we should totally do this again. And then I go home and it's like, I forget. And they
But
go
you
home
said
and
you
they
said
might
with Jenna,
forget.
that's your line to where it's just like, yeah, no matter what the guy says, you're like, yeah, we should totally do this again.
Do we all do that though? It means nothing now. Anytime at the end of a date when either one of us say that, because I might say it instinctually. I might say it off of pure default that comes out because it feels like a good exit.
Right.
Especially if I had a perfectly reasonable time.
It's like you're reading from your script of this is what we do now.
Well, it's like an autopilot phrase that'll come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Or they'll say it. But what I'm saying is, no matter who says it, it doesn't mean anything anymore necessarily.
True.
Because a lot of people, and like I said, from all of the people that I'm talking to, or that talk to, I get people that message me, of course, after these podcasts, anytime we talk about like dating or I post something,
right.
They'll tell me their stories and they'll be like, how come I'm going out on all these good dates and like nothing happens? And I'm like, I don't know. It happens to me. It happens to everybody I talk to.
Do you just think that maybe the idea of being in a relationship is just a lot better than actually being in one? Because if you did have a really good time with somebody, then you'd be like, oh man, like I'm super excited to see her again. Or I'm super excited to see him again.
Sure. Or I think sometimes, like I've said before, sometimes with meeting people in that way, it's not a good measure of chemistry. It's a good measure of having things in common. So when you go hang out, you got plenty enough in common to like chat and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But is it enough to really want to take it to a different place?
Different, yeah. Yeah, when you actually go out and you think about it and you're just like, oh, that's going to be like, this is going to be work. Like, is that man really worth the work? Like, I'm going to have to see him again. I'm going to have to take another shower. I'm going to have to get ready, put on my makeup again.
Yeah, the makeup and the
I'm
outfits.
I'm going to have to find an outfit. Like, are you really worth, like, thank you for dinner, but was that really all worth it? And I do that. The lady with 3 kids I went on a date with, I didn't say this to her. I almost did. Thank God I didn't. But it was going through my head. Like just like a super long day of work. I didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. And I almost like called and was just like flaked. But I was like, screw it. Like, what else am I going to do? Like, so I went out, we had a really, really great time. But like in the beginning of it, I was like, I don't even want to do this. And that's how your date starts.
Yeah. That's how.
And then you end up like meeting someone who's like a very nice, genuine person, and you have a great time at the end of it. And you're like, oh, I'm really glad I did that. But you start it with like, fuck.
That's all. This is the progression of the emotions, the dragging yourself out of the door, like, oh God, I got to go on a date.
Yeah. This is just going to be weird.
Then you go, and then maybe it's cool and you have a good time, and you're fine with staying there and chatting, and you're there for a certain amount of time, and it's great.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I'm glad. Look at me getting outside. Look at me outside.
Oh, look at me trying.
Yeah, look at me meeting people and all that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Cupid.
I do want to meet new people.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to keep new people coming in and out of your life so you can stay
Agreed.
fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's almost like it just fades away afterwards. And I go, ugh.
Yeah. You're like super happy for like that hour after you got home, and then you go to bed. And you wake up the next day, and you're just like, we kept talking
like,
after
what is
our
this mindset.
Yeah, we kept talking like after our date, and don't get me wrong, she's a great girl. I had to think about the whole 3 kids thing, but like I was like, yeah, when can we do this again? Like, let's go out again. And she's like, well, I don't know. She went like down to like South America for something for like a week. And then she's like, and then I got my kids the whole next week. And so she's like, well, let's get together like maybe like near whatever, the end of the month. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, the timing is really important.
Yeah.
Because if you do have a really good time and you do want to see somebody again, you can't let it drift off for too long.
Right. She wanted to wait like 2.5 weeks. I'm like,
you've had one encounter.
Right.
You've had one encounter. It's only going to last so long. right?
We can only keep the fire burning for so long.
Well, you know what I mean. If it's somebody
Right.
that you have a long-standing relationship with, as in you've just known them for a long time, so there's more of a connection, there's more of a background. You can go longer without seeing them and,
Sure.
and still have an interest in them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you've gone on one date with
you have that
somebody and you just
foundation.
had a good time, well, we've all been on dates where we've had a good time.
Sure.
So what's going to set it apart? The action.
Yeah.
So it's like if you had a good time, you better. I don't believe in that whole like wait 3 days. I don't do that.
I don't either.
I think that's really silly.
No, if I like have a really good time and like I say good night at the end of the night, then I just flat out will like text him and be like, I had a really good time.
Yeah.
And then I do a follow-up phone call the next day, probably.
Oh, see,
Like-
but you're in that's that old school lifestyle.
What, phone calls?
Yeah.
Oh, I love phone calls.
I know it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's just from a past era now.
Oh, is it? It's not a thing anymore?
No, it's a very good thing that people should do that is fallen off. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's very much fallen off. I always send a text like, oh, when I get home, thanks again for a good time. Because obviously, as a woman too, they're usually paying for my dinner. They're paying for my drinks,
Right.
whatever.
Whether you had a good time or
I'm
not,
also mindful
you're
of
polite.
that. I'm also mindful of that. I say thank you so much for the drinks or whatever. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I always send one of those types of texts, just appreciative to close it off. I've had some guys that they'll text you like, oh yeah, for sure, we'll do it again sometime. And then like 2-3 weeks later, then they ask me out again.
Yeah, see, I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. Plus, you got to realize, like, I don't know, going out on dates, like, for guys, like, it time, it costs money, like, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
why would you just keep constantly going on, like, random mediocre dates that don't mean anything?
That's a good point.
And there's no
You
point.
tell me, you're a dude.
There's no point. I
tell
don't.
me.
No, I don't.
Because I
Like,
date and I don't spend a dime.
Right. No, but yeah, and that's good for you.
I know it's not fair. I understand that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't go on a date unless it's someone who I actually like am interested in like talking to and possibly saying like, hey, this could actually possibly be something. Like I just don't go on a date and be like, yeah, let's meet up and see what happens. Like, no, I don't do that.
I think
I like
that's
my
what
monies.
mostly happens now. That's why people like to date in their neighborhoods too. It's close. It's easy for you guys to meet up. It's not that much of a
Hassle.
commitment to
Right.
travel 20 minutes.
Or invite them over to my brother's garage.
Yeah.
Call back.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hear that's extra true in places like LA where like traffic is everywhere. It's like if somebody doesn't live in your neighborhood, you're like, oh, I can't. It's too much.
Oh no, it's
I can't
a
get
lot.
committed to somebody that's going to be an hour drive, even though we live technically 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, because I live in Simi Valley, and Simi Valley is, I don't know, an hour past LA, and any freeway to get anywhere is atrocious.
Yeah.
So I went and met up with friends, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, why don't you come to Simi Valley? Like, traffic's not bad this way. They're like, no, let's just meet in the middle. But even getting 10 miles would still be 45 minutes.
That's the most frustrating thing about those areas.
Yeah, it was terrible. So yeah, no, I'm definitely very, very conscious about like that. Towards like, oh yeah, you live like 40 miles away. Like, there's no fucking way. Like,
I've always been a firm
I would
believer.
rather go watch Chris Brown in Vegas than drive.
Because at least that's just a 30-minute flight.
Right. Did you fly or drive?
I flew, dude.
You
I don't
flew?
drive to Vegas.
Why not?
Because it takes too long.
That's a
and
good
especially,
drive.
I
What
don't
is it?
wanna
5 hours?
I've honestly never done it. But 5 hours seems like a long time to me to drive there. It's okay. Let me backpedal on myself. It's not the drive there, it's the drive back.
I always sleep on the way home. I never drive home. I'll drive there 100% of the time, never drive home. When I'm driving into Vegas, I see the billboards for like, oh, the Lions at the MGM Grand or the Tigers at the Mirage or the Shark, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. We're going to do that Saturday afternoon. We're going to do that Saturday before dinner.
Never happens.
And nothing. Not one thing. Not one thing.
That's
It's
not my
like, what?
experience.
Tony
either.
Danza's and the producers? I'm going to go see that. Nope. I just
Yeah.
end up sitting at a fucking Pai Gow poker table.
It's always too large of a group when I go.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you get too large of a group, it's hard to wrangle everybody.
hmm
And my worst trip to Vegas was too many of us staying in a room, couples fighting, which is always a little bit
Oh, that's, yeah.
frustrating. And then kind of culminated in an evening where they brought people into our room.
I want to say where did you tell this story on a podcast? I know this story where you were like curled up like in the corner and people were
And I
like,
was livid.
Yeah, and you were super pissed. I remember this
And
story.
it's
I
the
don't
only
remember where I
time
heard
I've
this
really
story.
snapped at somebody. It's hard to get me angry.
Is
It
it?
really is. Yeah, I don't get angry very easily. My initial response is always just remove myself from a situation.
Yeah, I
I
think
leave.
for you to actually snap, it takes a lot.
For me to address it, for me to
yeah,
actually
yeah.
say something verbally to somebody, I'm angry, and that doesn't
you steam.
happen.
I think it's not very difficult to get you to start steaming though. But you just sit and you just like take it, and you just take it, and you take it, and you take it, and then all of a sudden, then you just explode.
And even that,
because you're very nice and polite in that sense, to where like if you're doing something that you don't want to do, you're just kind of like, oh. Okay.
I feel like I just leave. I feel like I found a way to get out of there. I have a run reflex. But yeah, I was in a situation where I couldn't really do that. They brought weird people into our room.
Yeah.
That were doing things they shouldn't have been doing.
No, you get your own room.
Yeah.
If you're going to deal with that kind of shenanigans.
That's the only way I want to travel now.
Your own
if
room?
I ever go there. Yeah, or just in a room with like one other person or something like that, where there's more control over at least my safe place.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't do Vegas. I like Laughlin. I don't know if you've ever been to Laughlin.
I've never been to a
It's
Laughlin.
just the trashy Vegas.
Oh, great.
But it's fun. No, it's fun. Like, I don't know. There's like a river there, and you just go and you play $2 blackjack, and you just have fun and drink and with your friends and family and hang out.
Sure. Here's my thing. I feel like I don't want to go to Vegas and be cheap. Like, I'd want to go to Vegas and get to dress nice and go to a nice lounge. I don't know if I need to do the full nightclub thing because honestly, the idea of it always sounds good. And then I get there and I'm like, it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Or I'm not enjoying myself as much as I should. Or I would need to be more drunk to enjoy this. And I don't want to be that drunk.
Right. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're in a very nice dress in the middle of Las Vegas.
Exactly.
Drunk.
I don't like to be that person. I like a nice lounge, nice outfit, kind of experience that environment. I want to see a show, and I want to go to a nice restaurant and eat a good meal because that's what Vegas has. They have nice restaurants. They have amazing shows. So if I'm going to go to Vegas, I feel like I need 1-2 days max, but I want to say 1.
Mid Friday to mid Sunday. That's me. Mid Friday to mid Sunday, and call it a day.
That's just coming from the fact that I just haven't had amazing experiences there so far.
Yeah, I mean, like I gamble. I enjoy. Do you gamble?
No, I mean I play penny slots. I wait for my friends to finish gambling. That's usually what happens. So I'm stuck.
Do you
on
just
the
not
floor.
enjoy it, or are you just kind of like a that's my money kind of person?
I think I'm a that's my money kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to play the ones that require some form of skill, so I wouldn't jump in on one of those. So I end up on the ones that are random.
Touche.
You know, I did win $10 once, and I said, "Hey, I'm out of here.
Done.
Thank you."
See, that's good. You have, you can actually take it to where I look at it, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, that's $10. Let's make this. Let's wait till I get up to 1,000, and I'm like, oh shit, I lost.
Yeah, I don't have that impulse for whatever reason.
I don't have the impulse to gamble like normally, but like if I'm in a casino and I'm out, like I bring whatever money I allowed myself. Let's say I allowed myself $200 a day. Once it's done, I'm done. Like that's it.
That
I
makes sense.
have that kind of control to where it's like most people can just keep hitting ATMs.
Oof, that freaked me out.
Yeah. Well, not to mention the fact it's like $10 every time you go to the ATM and just a service charge.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair. Maybe I should get into the owning an ATM business.
in Vegas?
Is that what I
Yeah.
should do?
Yeah. I'm looking for work. I'll help you.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, full circle. So we're talking about that book. It's called Choose Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he's talking about the fact that the new type of thing to be valuable these days is ideas. So the way to keep yourself relevant as a human being is to be like an idea machine, and you make yourself valuable.
All right.
And you have to figure out what your particular thing is, and it's all about knowing how to spin that.
That's where the hard part is finding the spin.
But we also all can't be entrepreneurs. So I mean,
No, it's I can't live a life like an episode of Shark Tank.
right?
Greatest show on television, by the way. Love Shark Tank.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Oh yeah, I'll just sit and have YouTube binges of just different pitches of Shark Tank. Guess what else am I gonna do? But yeah, no, it makes sense. But there's gonna come a point to where I don't want to say ideas are gonna run out, but yeah, how are you gonna put that spin on something? Like I would like to start my own animal training business. How the hell am I gonna do that? I don't have the money to start it. I don't have an interesting little thing. Like I just know how to work with animals.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I can take care of them. I can train them. Give me anything, and I'll be able to do it. But then what?
So what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna type it into Google. How
do I get land,
there's a
money,
tutorial for everything.
animals, contracts, constant income, food?
Yeah.
I get all
At
of
least you have the source of people that have done this before,
it. Yeah.
so you could ask what the process is.
Yeah, but they would probably look at it like competition.
You don't think they
'Cause it
share
is
any
not.
information with you?
No.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Oh, they got a bio on the internet somewhere.
Right.
Cool.
Pluck it out.
Well, thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's good to see you. Are you going to be doing your podcast again?
That is something I'll have to speak with Mike Bissett about. You hear that, Mike? Get on board, you little bastard. I miss you.
All right. Thanks, BJ.
Thank you.
That's it for this one, you guys. Subscribe and leave a nice rating if you're feeling generous. Follow me on socials at Courtney Diamond. And check the new Facebook page that I just started. You can find that at Courtney Diamond Blog on the Facebooks. Or you can check out the regular website at CourtneyDiamond.com. And thanks for listening, you guys. Hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.